Hello, welcome to Drupal Over Easy. My name's Nigel. In this tutorial we're going to be following the mobile theme where we've been creating Drupal services to provide functionality application interfaces to other devices, other applications as such. And we're going to be following along with that theme. In this tutorial what we're going to be doing is we're going to be posting some location GPS data or some location data up to the service. So in the previous tutorials we've been doing gets, we've been taking data from the service. In this tutorial we're going to be putting data into the Drupal service in the form of location data, and then we're going to make it a bit more useful. We're going to create a geofield map and actually show the location that we pushed onto the Drupal service. We're going to show that on a geofield map. Okay, so the prerequisites, if we go back to this tutorial, this is the first tutorial where we actually implemented our first Drupal service. So if you go back to this tutorial here, it will get yourself set up with the right modules and get yourself a good introduction to Drupal services. Won't be spending quite the amount of time talking about setting up Drupal services because we've already done it on the previous tutorial. Okay, so the steps we're going to be doing is we're going to first create a content type and add a geofield to that content type. So when we push our data up, we're actually going to be assigning that location data to this geofield. So let's go and do that now. Okay, so create a new content type, add a content type. It's called a geofield map service. And same again, just keep whatever settings you want here. Now we're going to save and add fields. Don't need body, so let's delete that. So we're going to add our geofield. So let's call it I'm just going to call mine service. And of course it's going to be a geofield. Okay, I'm going to use the well-known text for here. Okay, so basically any data I want to push up to the service, I want to be in the well-known text format. So you'll see what I mean a bit later on. And this is quite a standard, quite a common known location data format, so save that. And we can save that. And scroll on down. Okay, well-known text will go in this box here. Let's just have one value, so we can just save the settings as they are. Okay, we've done that. We've now set up our content type. Let's see what to do next. Okay, next thing is to add a new Drupal service. Well, actually, I'll amend this. Let's actually create a content type. Okay, now let's add a geofield map service. Let's call it geofield service map. Okay, I'm just going to keep this blank. Normally I'd enter some text in the well-known text format here with the coordinates, but the idea is we want to populate this by pushing the data up to a service. So we can just save that. Okay, so here's our geofield service map. Okay, we've got no coordinates here. Our goal is to push some coordinates up to our service. So our next step is to actually create the new Drupal service. So we'll create our service, go into services and add. Okay, let's call it geofield service. machine readable, so no spaces. I'm surprised they haven't updated this module to automatically do it, so you can have a separate name. Okay, select REST. Path to endpoint. Let's say this is just Geofield. Let's just call it Geofield underscore map. So this is our map name. This is our endpoint name. We put this straight after our site address. Save that. There's a service. Now we have to edit our resources. Okay, what we're going to select here is a node, because we've actually created a content type we've actually created a content type with our Geofield. So to get to that, we just need to select the node. And what we'll need to do is, when we're entering our address, we'll need to select the address of that particular node, put the node ID for there. Okay, so it gives us all CRUD operations here. We don't need to make any other changes as such. We're only going to be using the node, so that's fine. Just want to compress that. Okay, so we'll select node and save that. Okay, now let's check the other settings here. Edit settings is fine. That's a Geofield map, the first part of our services address. And next thing is we need to edit the server itself. Again, we're just going to be using JSON, so we can uncheck the others. Okay, that's fine. We're not going to have any authentication. We don't need that level of complexity for this introduction tutorial. Okay, that's all fine. So let's go back to edit just to get our endpoint address as Geofield map. So as with the previous tutorials, we're going to use a helper tool just for us to check our Drupal service first, which is the HttpRequester tool. Here it is here. Okay, so I've set this up in my debug here, but I need to change my site address to tut01 local. Tut01. Okay, the endpoint address is Geofield underscore map. So that's the first argument in our address. We change that to the Geofield map, which is our endpoint. Okay, node's correct. If we went, node's the correct resource to use. I'll just save. Oh, I'll save that. And let's go back into resources. So node is going to be the correct resource to use. That's correct. Next one is the endpoint, the node ID number. I don't know what that is, so I'm going to have to go back into my site and, well, actually I do know what it is. If I look node 2, that's my node ID address. So I change 13 to 2. Okay, that's fine up here. We're going to be doing a put, so we're going to be putting data into our service. So in the header you need to put. Again, the content type is going to be JSON application. Okay, down here is going to be the actual content we're going to be sending. And so this is encapsulated in JSON type of style. So the first type is Geofield services. So that's what I did for my prototyping. What is it? What's my content type this time? Okay, so it's a Geofield map service. So I need to change that to Geofield map underscore service. Okay, we can change the title, so we can send data up. So I've selected the type. We can select, at the moment I've got Geofield service map, so I can change it to like new map, and that should change the title. Now the next thing is field Geofield services. Okay, I need to double check what what I'm calling the field here, which is Geofield service. So the name of the field here is field underscore Geofield underscore service. So field underscore Geofield, very similar. I need to get rid of the S. Field underscore, that's fine. Okay. Basically, due to views, we're sending data up in JSON format, but views layers its fields in a certain layout. So we've got the field name here. We've got sort of its name used for translation, undefined, no country specific there. But in here is for Geofields. This is like combat. Geofields has made some basically they've made it slightly easier for you to enter data. It's easier if I explain it instead of blurbering on. So if I search for Drupal Geofields, go into that. Explain what my madness is about, and go into documentation and scroll on down here and go to Geofield 2.x. We'll get that. Right, saving data programmatically. Saving data programmatically. Okay, so they've made it easier for you to actually write data to the Geofields, and so they've set up these mechanisms here with the input format of Geofield input format wiki. So that's the format we're going to be using to write to the Geofield, which is why I've got inside this JavaScript associative object array, I've got the input format, which is Geofield input WKT, and then inside the GeoM, exactly as it's described in the documentation for Geofield, I've got the well-known text format data here, point with the coordinates right here. Okay, so that should be fine. So that's where I got this from. I went to the Geofield documentation and saw these helper functions there. So just by putting in this format in here, it should just work. Okay, so I'm just going to drag this across here. Okay, I haven't yet executed this. This is for the first time we're putting some data into the new service. Just double check up here the right address is going to node 2. It's going to be a put, and the content type has to be JSON. So let's go and select put. Okay, it's going access denied for user anonymous. That's good. We've got an error, but I think I know what this is. I haven't yet set the privileges for the content type. So what I need to do is go into permissions and scroll on down to where my content types are, or my nodes. Content types, nodes, same thing. Okay, here we are here. Geofield map. So I've got no privileges, and because we're not using any authentication to log in, we need to set permissions for everyone, including anonymous, which in this case, this is what I am. When I'm putting data in there, I'm not actually logged into the site. I'm sort of approaching it from the outside. So we'll save all this, and we'll make a reattempt that. Okay, attempt to put it back in again. Okay, that was successful. We've got the 200 OK. Nothing's gone wrong, so our transaction has successfully completed. Whether or not it's put any data into our Geofield, we don't know, but we know that our transaction was successful. Let's go back to our website. Here's our Geofield service map. Let's refresh that and see what happens. Okay, that's good. We've now got our well-known text data has gone in there, which is good. We've successfully from the outside pushed location data, which could be in the form of GPS settings whatsoever. Some of your mind's starting to think now, okay, well, this is very useful. We're pushing some data up externally to a Drupal site. Because now let's see what we're going to do next. Okay, that's now successful. We've now proven that we can upload geofield coordinates to our Drupal service. So let's just do the proof of the pudding. Let's create a geofield map and just display that coordinate. So I'm just going to create that from views. So go back into the site, go to views, let's add a new view. Let's call it Geofield Services View. And continue and edit. Okay, we'll add a page. Give the page address, a path, something that's nice and easy. Let's call it geofield underscore services. Apply that. Okay, so now for format, this is going to be a geofield map, so just override that. Select geofield map and apply that. Okay, it's asking, it wants to see a geofield, so we're going to add the geofield. Here it is here, geofield service, so we need to add that field. Okay, remove the label. Well-known text, full geometry, that should be fine. Apply that. Now go to the geofield map settings. Data source is going to be our geofield. Field geofield source. Pop-up text, this is use title. Can't remember if I've given it a title or not. And remember, we set the title to new map. They're not probably applicable, but it doesn't matter. Okay, I'm going to keep all the other settings. Okay, I'm just going to filter this. Oops. So add a content type, add a type. Select content type here just to filter our data. We don't need to override it. It's a good habit to get into if you've got lots of views displays. So that's geofield map service and apply that. Okay, I think that's okay. Geofield services, remember our path, save that. And now go to menus and add a link to the main menu. Let's just call this services map. The path, if I can remember correctly, was geofield underscore services. That should be fine. Save that. Okay, I've got the link there. Close that. Click on services map. Okay, so I actually use this coordinates for Darwin. So we've now populated our map. So we've populated our map by setting up, pushing the coordinates from a device up to our Drupal site, and now we're populating it with data. And think about GPS, think about your phone pushing up data to your Drupal site and displaying it. You know, it's very easy to set up on Drupal and using things like titanium applications and such. Okay, I just want to see if I've got, I'm just going to sort of poke at another coordinate here. So I'm just looking at an old site here. I just want to enter another coordinate just to prove that I haven't fudged anything. So if we choose Melbourne, I just want to get the coordinates for Melbourne. There we have them there. So I'm just going to enter these coordinates. I've grabbed these from another previous tutorial, and now replace it in our HttpRequester tool. Okay, it should be fine. Now if we do a put again, just let me double check that was successful. Okay, now in this case, instead of going back to the content type, let's refresh the map. Aha, Melbourne, we've now changed. So by changing the coordinates to our HttpRequester tool, we've now changed the coordinates there. Okay, so that's that for this tutorial. Again, this is a part 1 of a part 2 tutorial. Again, if you've been following your tutorials, you can probably guess that I'm going to sort of use probably an Android device, read the GPS coordinates, have a titanium application, push those coordinates, same as what we're doing in the HttpRequester tool, up to the service here, and allow us to track our coordinates here. So if you're walking around, this application's refreshing your coordinates every 15 seconds or so. This marker here should change. You'd have to be right zoomed down, but that should work. So part 2 is going to be doing this on probably a live hardware device and pushing the Geofield coordinates up there and tracking the actual data here as such. So every time you refresh the screen here, you will see you know, the coordinates changing. So going back, so that's that of this one. So just to conclude this tutorial, in this tutorial we set up another Drupal service, but in this Drupal service we're just using these nodes provided to us by default. We do have to add the node ID number to our node, but in this example we're putting data into our Geofield, and from that Geofield we can implant that onto any type of map. So we've got, so you can see the effectiveness and practicality of this particular example. Okay, this is part 1. Part 2, I've just got to get a titanium app working on Android, which will actually upload this probably to a real live server on Drupal over easy. So I'll work on that, and that will be the following tutorial. Thank you for your time and patience for watching these tutorials. If you like it, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the YouTube subscription list for where I'm now uploading these tutorials. Got plenty more coming out. We're going to sort of get quite technical with some of them. Okay, that's all for this one. Bye for now.